Have you ever wanted to peek inside the mind of a really successful business leader? Not just, see their wins, but their
Yeah,
struggles.
the day-to-day stuff. I like
Exactly.
it.
Their raw thoughts, the lessons they've actually learned along the way.
hmm The real story.
Well, today that's exactly what we're doing. We're diving deep into The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett.
Great book.
It really is. And our mission, kind of with this deep dive, is to give you a shortcut. We want to pull out the key bits of knowledge,
The nuggets.
the nuggets, that show how leadership and emotional intelligence, even inner peace, how they all sort of weave together to create real success.
Powerful mix.
It is. It's presented as this diary, and it feels like it could be, potentially life-changing for you listening. So let's unpack this incredible resource you've shared with us. Let's really get into the core of what makes it so impactful.
Yep.
So let's start with the author, Stephen Bartlett. For anyone who might not know him, he's a big-name British entrepreneur.
Right, founder of Social Chain.
Exactly, Social Chain. And of course, a very well-known podcaster, too. He's been, pretty open about his journey.
Yeah, the highs and lows.
The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
And what's really interesting here, I think, is how that background, being an entrepreneur and a podcaster, it feeds directly into the book.
Yeah.
It kind of hints at this deep understanding he has, not just of business strategy, but of, like, communication.
Connection, right.
Connection, exactly. Human connection. And those themes are just absolutely central to the insights in the diary.
Yeah.
So it's not just another CEO writing a standard business book. This is someone who really gets how to tell a story, how to connect.
That's a great point. And that unique angle is probably what makes this book feel different, doesn't it? The Diary of a CEO, it's not like a polished memoir written years later. It's based directly on his actual personal diary entries.
Which is quite raw sometimes.
Very raw. Each chapter takes a big lesson, maybe from business or just life, that he learned, and it distills it right from his own reflections.
Often from mistakes, too.
Oh, absolutely. Insights from very public failures sometimes, and the wisdom he scraped together along the way.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. It's not just theory, it's lived experience.
Yeah, distilled into things you can actually use.
Yeah.
Actionable insights.
Exactly. Actionable. Okay, so let's talk about some of that core wisdom then, the stuff that keeps popping up in the entries. He talks a lot about emotional intelligence.
He really does. It's paramount.
Like, it's not just a nice-to-have soft skill for him. It feels more like strategic.
Absolutely strategic.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bartlett really hammers home that emotional intelligence isn't just about, like, being nice or empathetic.
Right.
He actually talks about how early on his own impulsive decisions, often driven by insecurity, maybe misreading a situation, led to specific costly failures. He goes into detail about how mastering his own emotional landscape.
Understanding himself better.
Yes. Understanding his triggers, his biases. That became his most powerful tool for everything, from big negotiations to just building a team that trusts each other.
Wow.
So it's really about strategic self-awareness. That's the foundation, the bedrock of real leadership. It goes way beyond just the numbers or the market strategy.
That makes so much sense. And that point about understanding yourself first, it kind of sets up what he says about relationships with other people, doesn't it?
It really does. It flows naturally.
He sort of pushes back on the idea of leadership being this, like, solo genius thing.
Yeah, the lone wolf idea.
Right. He uses these diary entries to show how his biggest breakthroughs didn't always come from some brilliant top-down strategy.
More often from conversations, right?
Exactly. Sometimes uncomfortable, honest conversations that, like, rebuilt trust, or times when he really tried to understand what a team member was going through personally.
Before pushing on a deadline. Yeah.
Yeah. So he basically ends up saying leadership isn't just a business function. It's fundamentally a game of relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he illustrates that with really vivid entry. He talks about something he calls relational equity.
Relational equity. Okay.
Yeah, basically the trust and goodwill you build up over time through genuine connection, not just, quid pro quo exchanges.
Right. Not transactional.
Not transactional. And tying into that, the book also goes pretty deep into the importance of your inner voice.
Or finding inner peace, he calls it sometimes.
Right, inner peace. But it's not about, like, escaping reality or meditating on a mountaintop.
And not fluffy.
Not fluffy at all. Bartlett's idea of inner peace seems to be more about relentlessly finding clarity within the chaos.
Okay.
He talks very openly about his own struggles with imposter syndrome.
Which so many people can relate to.
Totally. And how he used journaling that diary, his inner voice, not to shut down his doubts, but to actually, like, dissect them, to question them, challenge them, and ultimately turn that self-criticism into something useful, into self-improvement he could act on.
So it's an active process.
Very active. And it makes you think, doesn't it? In a world that's constantly yelling for our external attention, how vital is it to actually diligently listen to that internal compass and try to figure out what it's really saying?
That's a really powerful question. And it definitely feels like a central recurring theme in the book. And speaking of the book itself, the way it's written, it's just very clear, isn't it? And honest. Impactful.
Very direct.
Yeah, direct. And the structure is interesting, too. It feels like almost every page gives you a new little revelation or a really concise, powerful lesson.
It's quite digestible.
Super digestible, broken down, like you said, almost like a collection of these profound daily thoughts he was having.
Yes, and that directness of the diary format itself just makes it incredibly engaging, I think.
I agree.
It really avoids feeling like some dense academic textbook.
Definitely not.
It feels like it's designed for you to absorb things quickly.
Yeah.
Which kind of matches Bartlett's own direct, no-nonsense style of sharing what he learned.
Which, honestly, makes it perfect for you listening if you want to gain knowledge quickly, but also deeply,
Right.
without feeling totally overwhelmed by dense writing.
Right. It hits that sweet spot.
So who is this deep dive really for? And by extension, the book itself? Well, explicitly, it's obviously a fantastic resource for entrepreneurs,
For sure.
people who read self-help, anyone really interested in leadership, personal development.
Anyone looking to grow, really.
Basically, yeah. If you're looking for candid, real-world insights into what actually drives personal growth and professional success,
This is for you.
this book is pretty much designed with you in mind. So yeah, The Diary of a CEO, it's way more than just like a peek into one guy's life.
Much more.
It really feels like a practical, actionable guide for anyone who wants to get better, self-betterment.
It really distills some big ideas into relatable wisdom. And it all comes straight from his actual lived experience.
Yeah, authentic is the word that comes to mind.
It genuinely offers a unique and I think quite refreshing perspective on how business savvy, emotional intelligence, and that deep personal growth stuff all intersect.
Building success from the inside out, kind of.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Building success from the inside out.
Right. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If Stephen Bartlett found such profound insights, such clarity, by consistently writing down his journey, his failures, his lessons, what deep wisdom might you uncover if you started keeping your own diary of a CEO? The CEO, that is, of your own life.